Hey guys, welcome to the Old Ultra Runner channel. I'm your host Jay. Today I want to tell another old running story. This is going to be my race report on the 1998 Austin Marathon. It was the 6th marathon I'd ever run. It was the one that followed. I had run one that I did a race report on December 1997 at White Rock. Well, this one was in February of 1998, so it was the closest together I'd ever run two marathons. I went into it hoping to run, I'd done 355 at White Rock. I was hoping to run maybe a 350 at this one. Traveled down to Austin. Back in those days, we did not have GPS watches yet. And I had also had some issues back running the Cowtown Marathon in '93 and other places where I'd had problems with there not being enough porta potties on the course. Well, Austin was trying to grow their marathon. They had the year before, I think, close to 2,000 entries. The year that I did it in 1998, they had 2,300 finishers, so they did grow it some. But the race director was kind of publicizing the marathon and putting ads in Runner's World that he had made a super fast Boston qualifier course. It was kind of interesting, and in those days he actually made a course. Austin is known for being pretty hilly, pretty hilly, and he had come up with a course where he started on the north side of Austin. He followed Barton Creek, which kind of goes through Austin, and he did the roads right next to the creek and kept it flat the whole way. And I remembered running on that course and during the race and it being so flat, but I was amazed because you would come to a street intersection, you look to the left or the right, in either direction there were hills. But it was like a super flat, fast course. I will say it was not the most scenic course. They have, within a year or two after that, they stopped publicizing it being super fast, and they changed the course to make it more scenic and bring in a lot more of Austin's hot tourist attractions. The race now starts and finishes at the state capitol, the Texas state capitol. It runs through the University of Texas campus. It goes through Zilker Park, which is a beautiful park in Austin. Anyway, I think they've made the course a lot prettier from what I haven't run it since then, but looking at the course and having been to Austin quite a bit, I'm sure it's a much more scenic and enjoyable experience in a lot of ways. But it's definitely going to be hillier than it was when I ran it in 1998. Anyway, like I said, I kind of just went into it with the goal. I also had aunts and uncles that lived down there. I contacted my Aunt Joanne and Uncle Bill that are on my mother's side of the family, and we went and stayed with them. We went and spent the night prior to the race with them, my wife and I, and had a real enjoyable dinner, got to visit, and then on the race morning, my uncle drove me up to the northern part of Austin where they were meeting it for the start. It was at a big shopping center in the north part of Austin. I can't remember the name of the shopping center, but we started from there, and then and we actually went the day before to pick up at the convention center. But the race started up in the northern part of Austin and it weaved its way down. And like I said, I remember being extremely flat. The other thing I was going to say is the other thing that he put in the description of the course is that there are porta potties every mile. And for someone who had had bathroom issues and not having enough porta potties at other races, that was an attraction too. I thought it sounded good. So, and actually I found it pretty cool because back in those days we didn't have a GPS. You would kind of depend on seeing the mile markers along the route to decide if you're running too fast or too hard, because you didn't have a GPS to tell you exactly how far you'd gone. Well, the cool thing about those porta potties is he put them every mile on the mile, so you could see the mile marker from well away, because you would be running up, you see the porta potty, you know that was the mile marker. It was pretty funny. but it was kind of cool. Anyway, it was a fun race. I met a guy just prior to the race that was also wanting to run the same time I was shooting for. I was big into the Galloway method of run walk, but I was running like a mile and then walking a minute. Run a mile, walk a minute. And he agreed to do that with me, so I thought it was great. And we started together, and it was great conversation. I really enjoyed visiting. It was a lot of fun. I have written down in my notes that it took us like an hour and a half to get, 1 minute and 30 seconds to get to the start line. Back then we did not have chips, so there was only gun time. So that basically added a minute and a half to your time because it's always recorded on gun time. But I had written down that it took us about a minute and 30 to get to the start line. Reached the halfway point. My note said it was a little over 2 hours and 3 minutes to get to the half marathon, but was 2:03 from when I reached the start line to when I get to the half marathon. So my overall time from the gun was just under 2:05. So we were behind schedule for that 3:50. But I was just hanging out with that guy, and he was not able to keep the pace he was shooting for. For me, it all just felt super easy. I was running easy, and finally we get to halfway, and I'm realizing he's slowing down, and I still felt pretty fresh. So I left him at half marathon. I ended up seeing it at the finish later, and I took off. And it was actually one of my bigger negative splits. It wasn't my best time ever, but it was very enjoyable because I ran the second half in like 1:50. So my first half was, I guess when you add the time to get to the start line, it was almost 2:05, and then the second half was just over 1:50. So it was one of my biggest negative splits, and it was a lot of fun because you're passing people the whole way. And you feel like, even though my time wasn't necessarily that great, I felt like I was this awesome, strong athlete because you're passing people the whole way. So it was a lot of fun. And I get to the finish line, and I actually finished, my official time was 3 hours, 55 minutes, and 16 seconds. So it was like 16 seconds slower than I had run at White Rock, but it was fun. It was a blast to run that big negative split. And I did enjoy visiting with that guy in the first half of the marathon. Get to the finish, my aunt and uncle were at the finish. My wife kind of got greeted. It was a really nice time. They drove me back to my aunt and uncle's house, and my aunt from my dad's side of the family, who goes to church with the aunt we were staying with, came to visit. So we got to visit. It was really nice. I really enjoyed the trip. That's really it for my race report. I'm going to give you some pictures of my keepsakes. First, this is the medal I received, if you can see it, from the 1998. It was the Motorola Austin Marathon. The race is now, it has gone through a few different race sponsors. The first 15 years of its existence were Motorola was the lead sponsor. I guess when I was running it in 1998, it was its 7th running, so Motorola still was the sponsor for 8 more years. Okay guys, so this was my finisher's certificate. It shows the date was February 15th, 1998, that I finished it in 3 hours, 55 minutes, and 16 seconds, and that I was 983rd place overall. I think there were just under 2,300 finishers that year. It said that they had, what they held that year was they had the marathon and they had marathon relays. And between the two of them, there were about 6,000 total participants, but about 2,300 of them were in the marathon. Now they hold, I don't know if they have a relay, but in 2020 they had over 14,000 participants. It said between the marathon, the half marathon, and the 5K. Back when I did it, there was no 5K or half marathon. Oh, wrong way. So here we have a picture. That's me and my wife after the finish. There it says Motorola Marathon. That was my race number. And that year I did buy the race photo. Again, it came as one of the little bitty pictures that you could order from, and I did order the race picture that year. So this is me, and you'll see I was just wearing a cotton t-shirt. I think that was my Boston Marathon t-shirt. I can't really see now for sure what the logo is, but I think it was. And so it was just a cotton t-shirt that I wore back in those days. I had my little cotton gloves that I carried with me for the cold start. It warmed up pretty quickly, and I just put it in my waist. There's my white A6 shoes that I ran in back in those days. So anyway, that's the picture from that. This is a photo from after the finish. I was at my aunt's house, but I still had the space blanket around me. And this is a picture again in my aunt's house with my Uncle Bill, and that's my aunt that came from my dad's side of the family. That's my Aunt Vicky that came to visit. This was from the Austin paper the Thursday before the race. My uncle got it for me, and it talks about the race and the course, and it talks about over 6,000 participants expected. They had pictures of key competitors to keep an eye on. And I'm looking at, I know the guy that was the man from the United States, I remember seeing that he got passed at the end and finished second, but there was actually a surprise winner. The women's side, I think it was the second. There were two Russian women that were the favorites, and one of them won. And they've got things about the wheelchair competition. They've got stuff about all the volunteers that are there to hand out water. Anyway, quite cool little write-up in the Austin paper a couple days before the race. I've got clippings from the day after the race that show the winner. He was a guy from Morocco that won the race. And there's the woman from Russia that won the women's side of the race. In my keepsakes, I've still got the little brochure that you got when you did packet pickup. It talks about the prize money the winners can win. It talks about the relays. And it had a map of the course, which was pretty nice. You could look at the map the day before. Again, the internet was pretty new. There really wasn't much to look at the course ahead of time on the internet. So getting something, a map, was a nice thing. Then after the race is all done, a few weeks, probably a month or so later, we got the results book sent in the mail. This is similar to what I've shown from some of the other races. It was kind of the going thing, but it would list by age group everybody that ran the race and their time. So I'm in here somewhere. You'd go to the men's, and I was in the 35 to 39 age group. But anyway, I'm in there. So that's the sort of results book we got. And yeah, that's all the keepsakes I have. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my rambling about my old race. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button, the thumbs up. If you're interested in more of my content, I do race stories, I do shoe reviews, I do other running product reviews and tips, and I talk about my current races quite a bit in training. Anyway, if you're interested in any of that, please consider subscribing to the channel. And other than that, keep moving.